The Sports Scouting Report with Lee Burkeen. Brought to you by Medine's Collision Center in Baton Rouge. Take control, choose Medine's. Grosse Savant Lodge, south of Lake Charles, the true sportsman's paradise. Treads and Care Company in Central, the tires you need, the service you want. Harvey Auto in Shreveport, Bossier City, the name you have trusted for years. And Gage in Baton Rouge. Get better connected with Gage. Here's your host, Lee Burkeen.
Hi everyone, Lee Burkeen with the Sports Scouting Report podcast. We've got a great show today. John Hazard is our guest, former LSU football Tiger, former All-American offensive lineman from Jesuit High School in New Orleans. We're going to talk LSU football. We're going to talk Jesuit High School. He's a coach still. He's got a son playing college football currently at ULL, formerly USL in Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns, and much more. We'll be right back.
Listen, whatever you're driving right now, Tommy Harvey wants it. Bring it in to Harvey Subaru, Lexus of Shreveport, Bossier City, or John Harvey Toyota. They're paying big bucks for all trades right now. They'll cut you a check right there. Tell them Lee sent you.
What does that bug man do?
Not only do we do pest control, we do odor control, bat removal, moisture control, rodents, and of course, bed bug control. Give the bug man a call. We get them before they get you.
Welcome back, Lee Burkeen, your host. It's UL, not ULL, UL, Louisiana, in Lafayette. And John Hazard's our guest. And John, I'm glad he told me this, but I didn't know this, but you were one of the last few two-way players on the OD line at LSU.
Yep.
And I forgot that.
Eric Candlestick, too. He played a couple of games in defensive front.
Because I knew you played D-line at Jesuit.
Right.
And O-line.
Correct. I was in on short
at
yard.
Jesuit.
Yep.
Appreciate you being here.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate
I'm humbled.
Former All-American coming out of Jesuit. A lot of LSU fans watch our show, John. And we've had Ron Sancho on recently. We've had some former Tigers, your teammate.
Mm-hmm.
Go down memory lane, your recruitment with LSU. You had some great coaches.
I did.
But how was your recruiting?
That's 40 years ago.
40 years ago.
I'll tell you what I remember. I enjoyed it. I remember the first time I received any recognition. I was going into my junior season. And I don't remember what it was, but all my family followed all the football rags and everything.
Yeah.
And I was mentioned, and I was just elated. It made me want to work even harder. And then I started getting recruited my junior season, going into my junior season, and it was at the time USA Today's first All-American high school All-American team, and I was on it with some really, some guys that did much better than I did and advanced in their football career. But I took visits to Penn State right after they had
State College, man.
That's right.
Joe Paterno.
That's it. I could tell you some funny stories about Joe. But anyway, I went there, University of Texas, SMU, okay. Auburn, and LSU.
And people don't realize, you do and I remember, but our younger crowd don't remember, but back in the day, SMU, they were rolling. Eric Dickerson, Reggie Dupard.
That's it. And
Craig James?
Yes. Reggie was one of my hosts. That was a fun visit.
From John Curtis.
Yep. John Curtis.
You went to all the big ones.
I guess.
Except Alabama.
Yeah, I didn't want to go there.
There you go. Fans for LSU.
Alabama, Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about the Penn State visit. You said some
strange.
Things.
Well, this is what I remember vividly, is all the student athletes lived in sort of the general population. I got there on a Friday. It was my first time riding in an airplane where there was ice and you could hear it hitting the fuselage. So it was kind of scary. Get there, go to bed. Next morning, I had to meet Coach Paterno at the little breakfast place where he has breakfast every day. I'll never forget, he greeted me speaking Latin because he went to Jesuit in Brooklyn.
Okay.
So I guess he assumed I was one of the smart guys. And I remember what I said. I said, "Yo soy estudiante de español." And he spoke Spanish. So anyway, he had grapefruit and cottage cheese And when he took off his glasses, his eyes were so tiny, but they looked
Huge.
yeah. But and then on the ride back, DJ Dozier and I rode on a private plane to D.C., and I was hanging so hard. He was talking, it was noisy, I couldn't hear, and I just dozed off. I knew I wasn't going there.
You're like, I'm done. I ain't coming.
Yeah,
back.
well, what happened was they had just played Alabama and beat them in the 1983 Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
And the campus was dead.
Yeah.
And ice cold, and just the vibe was not there.
I went in their stadium all season back in 1991. I was building tennis courts in Amish country, 20 minutes away.
Wow.
And it was dead, like you said.
Yeah.
But it was like going into like a high school stadium back then. It wasn't expanded back then.
Oh, okay.
And how these soccer fields, that's when you didn't see them here. In lacrosse.
Right.
And I said,
Women's field hockey and all kinds of other sports.
they love Penn State, though.
Oh, my gosh.
They love their college.
I work with some guys at a Penn State
They
fanatics.
love their
yeah.
college. Tell everybody who you talking about. Pete Jenkins recruited
Pete
you.
Jenkins, Coach Jenkins. Yes, I'm a member of the Two Gappers.
The two guys.
That's what they call,
Yeah.
that's when you play head up. But he recruited me. He was an excellent recruiter and just a football whiz, a defensive whiz. And he always taught really good technique and made great adjustments in the game. And, still consider him a friend. And, my son got to go to the lineman camp.
Sonny.
That's right. To lineman camp every year, except for before his senior season. And I would go and visit my college roommate, Tom Clapp, and Henry Thomas. They were coaches there for him, and it was kind of crazy. Jenkins was the same. They'd get into the meeting rooms, and he'd stop the tape, take off those hats. And if anybody made any noise, he'd stop it. He'd call them out.
Wow.
I don't know if the coaches do that anymore with the NIL and kind of,
Right.
different. 37, 38 years ago.
Different mindset now.
Yeah, different mindset.
I heard a story, and you know this story, but Henry Thomas, they signed him as a tight end out of Texas. And they took a chance on him, and I don't know if they were going to take him. And I remember seeing a story where Stovall told Coach Moody that, this guy's too great of an athlete not to take. He ends up being an all-SEC, all-American defensive tackle for LSU.
Got called out by, who was this?
Vikings?
Randall, yeah, the Vikings. When he received his jacket, he mentioned he couldn't have done it without Henry because Henry always got double team and triple team and left one-on-one.
Amazing story with him.
And you know what else Henry did? He came in and broke the freshman, what was it? It was, I guess, his vertical leap was better than any freshman lineman in the history of LSU.
That's incredible. There's been some good ones.
Yes.
Been some good ones. We're going to take a break. Speaking of that, Michael Brooks, I mean, he was a great one at one time. We'll be right back with more John Hazard. You're watching the Sports Scouting Report podcast. We'll be right back.
Gros Savon Lodge, the true sportsman's paradise. Gros Savon Lodge has fresh and saltwater fishing, alligator hunting, waterfowl hunting, and eco tours located south of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Give them a call at 337-598-2357. That number to call again is 337-598-2357, and have the time of your life. Listen, whatever you're driving right now, Tommy Harvey wants it. Bring it in to Harvey Subaru, Lexus of Shreveport, Bossier City, or John Harvey Toyota. They're paying big bucks for all trades right now. They'll cut you a check right there. Tell them Lee sent you.
Welcome back. Lee Burkeen, your host of Sports Scouting Report podcast. Look, if you're a fan of the show, and this is where we are with social media, John Hazard's our guest, is go on and subscribe for free to our YouTube page for the show. And as we grow that, I mean, we've been growing leaps and bounds with that. And this is my 20th year of doing TV overall in my career. Louisiana Football Magazine, 27 years coming up. But be sure to subscribe to YouTube. Wherever you get your podcast, be sure to like, share it. I know this segment I wanted to talk to John about Jesuit High School, where he went to high school in New Orleans. We all know about Jesuit's strong academics, but people don't understand the famous athletes that have come out of the school and people. We would be here for a week if I tried to say everybody.
Sure.
But there's a lot of people that have been to Jesuit that are in the entertainment business.
Sure.
They're musicians, they're actors, politicians.
Everything.
Very
diverse.
Football-wise, Deion Jones,
Morrow,
Rusty Staub, Will Clark.
Yep.
I mean, but I'm gonna throw some other ones out that are really. Foster Morrow was one of my favorites. Your son Sonny recently, Hazard, who's a D lineman at UL. Bob Wynn was my favorite, who got hurt at LSU, never played a down, but he was 6'5", 300 O lineman.
Back in the day. Well,
back in the
day. It's not that long
No,
ago.
not too long ago, but he was one that never happened. It's Steve Foley. Played a long
Coached
time.
all his nephews and stuff.
Harry Connick getting into entertainment. Pat Screen, the late Pat Screen, they won the state championship with him. And here's one I looked up. I don't know if you know this, John, but this is crazy. The inventor of the ATM machine, Donald Wetzel, in 1947. He
Correct.
invented the ATM machine.
Yes, that's right. I mean, pretty innovative.
Yeah.
And that's one of the great things about Jesuit is the diversity. So you had, at least when I was there, you kind of got the best of both. I mean, there was a conservative approach, a more liberal approach, but you are taught to make your own decisions, get the facts, and the rationale, and then follow your own path. But it was hard. It's even worse. I shouldn't say worse. It's even tougher now. I loved it. Not everybody loves it, but my best friends are from Jesuit and LSU.
Now, somebody might correct me when the show's over, but this is based on 2021. Right under 1,300 boys, all boys school.
Yes.
But 1,300 boys.
And one of the lowest tuition for the all boys Catholic schools.
I didn't know that.
Yes. We do a living endowment fund, basically. Well, we collect the gap between what it costs to educate a young man and what the tuition is. Very proud of that.
And I wanted to mention that I saw that you do turkey fundraising.
Yeah,
for
class
the school.
83, the turkey class. We've some of the guys started it, 30-something years ago. And we have an endowment where there'll be a scholarship in our name, but it's fun because the children of the guys that started it are starting to get involved and volunteer, and we're expanding it to do other things for the city of New Orleans.
And John, you're also a coach. You coach 8th grade Jesuit.
Yes, this year I'll be coaching the 9th grade. Coach Manali asked me to move on to the 9th grade, so yep, I'll do it.
9 years, huh?
9 seasons. That's
What
right.
do you enjoy most of being a coach now?
I think it's to see the young men that come in that have never played ball. Maybe they played flag football, and by the end of the season, they've improved enough where, they get an opportunity to play. They may never play another snap.
Yeah.
But they're squad members, and things happen. For instance, a guy, Evan Tafaro, who played with my son, graduated with my son, had a heart condition. He came in. I barely remember him. He was a little scrawny guy.
Yeah.
Well, he ended up getting healthy and started his senior season, was a captain, was all district. So seeing the progression, these young, they're 13 years old, and they were 18, and you're like, wow, you're a man.
Well, I want to mention this too. I want to get your thoughts on this, John. In our era, guys over 50 now, you started playing football young.
Yes.
You seeing a lot of late bloomers now?
Oh, yeah.
It's not
Absolutely.
as young like when we started.
Well, they have some kids, but the majority, I would say less than 10%, start young. And you can see, especially in 8th grade, that they're just more mature. They have a higher football IQ. And I find that the players that have parents, either a mother, a father, or a relative that played at a higher level, are way more advanced.
You wrestled at Jesuit. What was that like for you?
I loved it. By far, they're the hardest working athletes at Jesuit. I might get, we have a lot of champions.
Right.
And the swimmers get up mighty early.
Right.
And I see all the cross country guys and the baseball, but having done it, it is it's the most grueling sport. We had a coach named Sam Honsagram. He was from Thailand. He wrestled in the '68 Mexico Olympics.
Wow.
And he was little bitty tiny guy, could probably kill you 5 different ways. He was something special.
If you don't get it quick, he was on you, huh?
That's right. We celebrate anniversaries. The wrestling team gets together and do things with Coach Sam.
You were a heavyweight wrestler?
I was a heavyweight. I wrestled for 3 seasons, and not my senior season. Coach Sam was kind of upset with me, but I was ready to go duck hunting during the off season and get ready for recruiting.
Another thing before we take a break that John told me, I didn't know this, but John, his brother Nicky Hazard, we'll mention that in the next segment, but they were the only brothers that were captains at LSU to this day.
That's correct. That was a trivia that somebody told Nick. So it's kind of strange.
And we'll mention Nicky when we come back. And we'll mention Sonny Hazard, his son, who is currently a defensive tackle at UL in Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns. We'll be back with much more.
What does that bug man do?
Not only do we do pest control, we do odor control, bat removal, moisture control, rodents, and of course, bed bug control. Give the bug man a call. We get them before they get you.
Gros Savon Lodge, the true sportsman's paradise. Gros Savon Lodge has fresh and saltwater fishing, alligator hunting, waterfowl hunting, and eco tours located south of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Give them a call at 337-598-2357. That number to call again is 337-598-2357, and have the time of your life.
Welcome back. Lee Burkeen, the host of the Sports Scouting Report podcast. We've got John Hazard with us, former LSU Tiger offensive lineman. And I didn't know this, D-lineman. Played D-line, O-line, played D-line at Jesuit. Coaches 8th grade, 9th grade this coming year for Coach Manali, Jesuit High School. And if you're any parents listening to the show, watching the show, John, how can they get in touch if they want to put on a helmet and some cleats?
Well, they can call Brett Hanneman at Jesuit. He is the folks that handles all the entrance exams and everything else, but it's a great place to go, great academics. In fact, I think Jesuit for the last couple of years has won the most state championships of any of the all boys schools in the state. But it's a great place to go. Like I'd said before, we carry a low tuition and a lot of scholarships focused on diversity always, and just a great place. You'll make friends for life.
Last segment, we talked about Nicky Hazard. His brother was a team captain at LSU. John was a team captain. But talking about your brother Nicky, he was a pretty good linebacker.
Yes.
And y'all played at Jesuit, played at LSU. What was that like playing with your brother in college?
I loved it. You know, we're still great friends. All my buddies that I went to school with, we come together for COVID and cocktails on Thursdays, and we have a good time. But it was great to have him behind me and, you know, encouraging me, and me doing the same. He almost didn't get a scholarship to LSU. He was going to go to Ole Miss, and what happened was Arnsparger came in the transition. They had one can of film, and it was against Holy Cross, who ran the wing T, which is misdirection. Didn't have a great game. So they overlooked him, and I went in to see Arnsparger and said, he's going to have his personal best every time we play him. And he looked at different film, and the day of, someone decided not to sign, and he got a scholarship.
Meant to be.
Meant to be.
Meant to be. 1986, y'all won the SEC title. You were on the SEC championship team at LSU. You went to 2 Sugar Bowls, 1 Liberty Bowl. We were laughing about the Liberty Bowl because I've heard stories from your former teammates. That was probably the most interesting 2 or 3 days before the game they've never documented. But you said,
well, you know why we went. You know the Paul
story,
Harvey.
yeah.
Arnsparger, we were told we were going to go to Hawaii. We didn't. He and Broad had a little riff, so we were told, here's your per diem, get there the best way you can. Well, about 8 guys, including my brother and some other folks, we took the train from New Orleans. We were delayed. The observation car fell over. We went to Imperial Palace and had Mai Tais and brought a bunch of Chinese food. And I remember Mike Cobb had 2 Gallo wine bottles with Bloody Marys.
God bless him, the late Mike Cobb. Lost him this year.
That's right. And then we drank every beer in the car, the food car, and sent Sammy Martin when we stopped in
man.
Hammond to run 3 blocks and get 2 cases of beer.
Get back on a train.
And get back on the train. And he did. We called it the pain train because my brother got sick. It was freezing cold. We got in around 3 in the morning, took a cab, and went to our Motel 6. And our buddies had taken our rooms. Our buddies had taken our rooms. They faked.
And you said the locker room flooded
after
Liberty
the
Bowl.
game. Well, we knew we were in trouble when we did this talent contest, and we had Darren Marlborough playing the bass. We played music, not we, the talented guys.
Yeah, right.
And Baylor's talent was. One guy brushed his teeth, spit in the cup. They all did it, and the last guy drank it. And we're like, oh, they're not right. But we had 3 bowls. We lost them all, but we won the parties.
Won the parties.
We had the best time, except the Liberty Bowl when everything froze. We didn't have proper gear the first day, and we had to have Christmas dinner where there was no food. I think we had a lunch, but we ended up eating dinner at the 7-Eleven because it was the only place. It was right there.
And now you look at the Citrus Bowl and they set them up at steakhouses and all this and that.
Different world.
A lot of New Orleans guys on the team back then. Sammy Martin, De La Salle, Mike Cobb, yourself, Albert Gamo. I mean, a lot of guys from the New Orleans area. Norman Jefferson, who was a highlight of that game, punt returner from John Ehret.
Mm-hmm.
DB.
It's Pete Jenkins.
Yeah.
He recruited in the New Orleans area.
And Grant Taft from Baylor was like, man, I'm glad we beat him because y'all had more talent. It just wasn't
Nobody
there.
wanted to be there.
Nobody wanted to be at the game.
It was miserable. And then the Sugar Bowl was just a different story.
Yeah.
They had a lot of All-Americans.
Tom Osborne and Dave Remington and all those guys. Neil Smith.
Oh, yeah, they had a bunch.
From New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. What do you think of the future of football, John? I mean, you got the portal. You got a son at UL
I think
playing
it's
D-line.
tough for the high school players. I mean, it's almost like the minor leagues now.
Yeah.
You have to. There's a different path, and if you're a group of 5 coach, it's really tough because the players you develop, they're going where the NIL money is, and
Trying
I know
to hang
this
on to them.
from Coy Moore, who was at LSU. He was at Jesuit his 8th grade year and then went to Rummel, LSU, and then he's at Auburn, a starter. They have from what I understand, they have a pool of NIL money. And so based on your contributions to the team, everybody gets a little taste.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're doing that everywhere, but they all get a stipend.
Yeah.
But it doesn't cover everything. It doesn't cover the food. When they're out of school, not training for I think it's 2.5 months a year, they don't get anything.
And then where your son's at UL, they got to try to play the game. That's hard.
Oh, it is.
It's hard.
Absolutely. Napier, took everything out of the cupboard.
Brag on your son real quick. We got about a minute left.
Sure.
He's 300-something pounds.
305. He was starting nose guard, had 5.5 sacks, played mostly first and second down, and he really enjoys his teammates and playing for UL. Kind of a tough season. Crummy way to lose, but he enjoys the grind, and he's going to get his degree, and hopefully goes from there and becomes a contributor to commerce, as I say.
Got a couple of years left if he wants the 2 years.
Yep, graduates, and I think 3 semesters, including this one. So we'll see.
Final thoughts, LSU football. What do you think of Kelly and what they did?
I think he's doing a good job. I think the future is bright, and if we can retain the players and get the ones we need and plug and play players, but I think it's difficult. But he is the guy. He is the guy. They made a good choice.
Reminds me a lot of Onsparger.
Yeah, no nonsense. You better play by his rules and play hard. Get to do the things you want to do. When you're losing, you can expect it's going to be, as Pete Jenkins says, he'd have a rock in his shoe when we lost, and he'd stomp that foot until you got better on that first day, and then he'd take that little black pebble out.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
John, any final thoughts before you go? Anything you want to say or promote? Or
no, just the fact that, I'm a fan of football. We were watching the playoff game, and my friends were saying, God, it's getting sad. It's sad time. Hopefully we got the XFL and USFL. So
there's nothing left. It is a sad time. And look, I'm not watching all the NFL games. I don't know about you. I'm watching Burrow.
Yeah.
And I'm pulling for the Bengals to win the Super Bowl finally.
Me
They
too.
went last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad Dallas lost. I wasn't a Dallas fan. I'm a Steelers fan and a Saints.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're from New Orleans,
Yeah.
but you know, Saints aren't in it. Pittsburgh's not in it.
Yeah.
What do you think? Burrow can win it? Before we go?
Absolutely. San Francisco.
Jamar Chase,
Yeah.
Rummel.
Yeah. And, funny, Sonny played, his first game was against that kid Brock, who's the starter for San Francisco now, when he played at Iowa State.
Purdy, the quarterback, Iowa State.
Yeah.
And they beat Iowa State.
Yes. In his second play, he had a hurry on him.
And Purdy didn't have a
Using a
good
little
game,
under.
so you can't go by that,
That's right.
right?
Can't. And then their running back's now doing well, too. I forget his name.
Were you at that game in Ames?
No, they changed it. It was COVID.
Oh, yeah,
First
that's right.
Game
Couldn't
of
go to the
season.
game.
Couldn't go to the game until the day before.
Weird
and
time.
They said, "Oh, parents can come," but my son got COVID. Then was sick the rest of the season.
Now your son can always say, look, I went against that guy.
Brock Purdy.
We dominated him that day.
Yes, we did, and we had two returns for touchdowns.
Big time, big time. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having
John,
me.
thank you.
All right,
John
Dave.
Hazard, former LSU football player and cancer survivor.
Yep.
God bless John. He's a cancer survivor, and all the people struggling with cancer right now, like my mom, prayers to everybody that has a family member
Yeah.
that struggles.
Yep.
And
Power of prayer.
power of prayer, stay strong, prayers to all your families, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee King.